Good morning, Year 7. I hope you're well and having a lovely day. Welcome to today's lesson on November. For this lesson, you'll need a pen, your exercise book or paper, coloured pens and pencils, a copy of the poem, and a copy of the images sheet. Don't forget to pause the audio to complete the tasks before moving on. So please do write the date and the title November. For your do now, what do you think of when you see these images of people in a care home? Have you had experience of having to visit someone in a care home, and how did it make you feel? Pause the video for a couple of minutes to jot down your responses to these questions. Okay, so do now. You may have written, these images make you feel sad or upset, make you feel guilty, or make you feel worried. So understanding the poem. The first thing we always do when we read a new poem is to try and understand what the basic message is, what the kind of key ideas or the story is. So what I would like you to do is read the November poem and think about what is happening. You can also use the poem dictionary to help you. So trinkets are small worthless objects, often jewellery. Pear means to cut or trim. Incontinence is the inability to control the bowels or one's bladder. Twilight is the fading light after sunset, and twilight zone is a rundown industrial area. The phrase can also be used for a place which is strange or threatening. So pause the video for a few minutes to read through the poem and try and work out what's going on. So what I'd like you to do is you've got the events on the slide, but they're not in the right order. So what I'd like you to do is work out the correct order of events using the boxes on the slides and then write them out in the correct order. After you've done that, I'd like you to consider what are your initial thoughts about the poem. What is it about and what feelings are being shown? So pause the video for 10 minutes to do these two activities now. Okay, so initial thoughts and what is the poem about? So I've got the order on the little white boxes. So first, it is November, nearly the end of the year. And then we go to number 2. The speaker of the poem is with his friend John. Then number 3. The speaker and John take John's grandma to the hospital. 4. The grandma is very poorly and weak. 5. She is going to the hospital to die. 6. They take things like towels and soap for her. 7. They cut her nails and make her comfortable. 8. The speaker and John are frightened by the old people. 9. The old people are very pale and weak. 10. The speaker thinks that old people look like monsters. 11. The speaker drives John home as he is very tired. 12. They are scared that they will also be old one day. 13. They drink alcohol to forget what they have seen. So it is quite a bleak, depressing poem, isn't it? So the poem is about dropping off a grandmother at the hospital where she will die. The speaker feels guilty for leaving her there, along with his friend, when they know what the outcome will be. They feel great affection towards her because they make sure she has everything she needs, even though she is not aware of these small acts of kindness. The speaker and John are upset and scared by the sight of the old people in the ward. The faces of the old people are pale and their bodies are weak. They can't think clearly and are losing their hair. The speaker calls them monsters, which reveals fear and potentially disgust. John is very tired, and so the speaker drives him home. They realise that they will also grow old and be like the people in the ward. When they get home, they drink alcohol to try and forget what they have seen as they are very worried. So what I've done there is I've put the feelings in red. So do make sure you've written out the key events in the right order and jotted down the key feelings. So what I'd like to do is I've attached the pictures as a PDF on class charts, and what I'd like you to do is pick a picture for each stanza. Write beside each picture to explain why you chose it. For example, I chose this picture because I think John is torn up inside about what he's doing. So if you pick the picture bottom row, third in, that would suit the example. So pause the video for 10 minutes to do this activity now. Okay, this is our next task. I'd like you to draw this timeline in your book. Where would you place yourself? Where would you place your parents? How is this a metaphor in the poem? Pause the video for 5 minutes to do this now. Okay, so Armitage uses the months of the year as a metaphor for someone's entire lifespan. How might you feel at different stages? How do your parents feel with where they are? How would the old lady feel? Jot down some ideas. So it may be that you feel like you're in March. I would probably say May for myself, but then maybe as you go on to, the autumn months, the autumnal ones, September, October, November, you could start to feel more nervous because then you're going towards December. But in the early half of the year, you're probably less worried about the aging process. Okay, emotive words. I'd like you to read through the poem again, this time underlining all the emotive words. So, as we've talked about previously, emotive words are words that make you feel a particular emotion. It can be a good emotion or a negative emotion. I would like you to choose your top three and explain why you have chosen those words. For example, die is emotive because it makes you feel worried or sad and also gives the idea of inevitability. It also shows their guilt. For a challenge, explain the words in detail and identify any language techniques. Pause the video for 5 minutes to do this now. Okay, so I'd like you to add to or correct your work. So we've got family trinkets, rough blankets, and continents. Gives the idea of helplessness, humiliation, and loss of dignity. It creates a very sad scene. Then we've got bloodless smiles, slack breath, dun brains, baldness, monsters. You've got a brutal depiction of old age, and it is presented as ugly and humiliating. Beauty is stripped away. Then you've got shattered, twilight zone numb. Physical and emotional exhaustion of old age and death affects John. Twilight suggests death is coming, and numb suggests he wants to get rid of thoughts of his mortality. You've got terror of dusk and evening. The fear is for themselves. Grandma has already lost her humanity in their minds. She's become, as stated in stanza 1, a parcel. In the brutal matter of dying, it is the survivors who suffer. And then sun spangles feel alive out of this life. Contrast of the sun with dusk and twilight emphasizes the death, and they are clinging to the moment. So if you didn't get this, please jot it down now. The poem is packed with imagery. Look at the imagery I've identified here. What language technique is used and what's the effect of this imagery? So you've got twilight, terror of dust, evening. Pause the video for 5 minutes to answer these questions. Okay, and for an extension, find one more image of your own, identify a language technique if there is one, and explain the effect. Pause the video for 2 minutes to do this now. Okay, so that's the end of today's lesson. Really well done for your work today. It is quite a difficult poem to read, especially if you've experienced the loss of a loved one or having a loved one in a care home. So thank you very much for your work today, and I look forward to speaking to you next time.